I was having a debate. A bunch of my fellow CEOs. We were on a Slack channel at the bureau, this organization. But one of the debates was like, is it making us stupider? And my thing is like, one of the CEOs wrote, I don't ride a bike very much anymore, but I can get back on a bike. It's not making me stupider. It's enhancing areas that I need to be enhanced in. And I think that's the second brain is not a crutch. It's an enablement tool. It's going to be an arms race with AI, right? People are going to constantly build more and more AI agents, and it's going to be just kind of a war in that. But the ones that are going to win out are people that actually have the AI lead people to the actual human, and the relationships are going to be the one that went out. Being able to talk to someone and understand their situation, be able to empathize with them, those are the people that are going to win at the end of the day, I think. AI is just a tool.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Reframe First. I'm Oleksij, and let me welcome our today's guest, Dusty Gallison, founder and CEO at Team Tectonic. Hi Dusty, great having you here.
Hey, nice being here. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to an interesting discussion today. So today is an unusual one. We came with cigars, and probably let's light it up and start discussion.
I find cigars to be a best way to start conversations. It's very relaxing.
Yeah, it is. What have you got today?
Well, I've got let's see, it's a La Palina bronze label. I'm a big fan of La Palina. Let's see if people can see that. It's a wonderful, it's in the morning here, so it's a breakfast cigar. It's my first cigar of the day. It goes great with coffee.
Yeah, I got Nick Perdomo Maduro, 12 years old. I 10 years, 10 years in a yeah.
Perdomo comes out with a lot of great cigars. They do a good job. Quality's consistent.
Yeah, but it's strange they are not appreciated by the cigar CA websites, the CA journal, Cigar Aficionado. Because they are not rated there, and while I find them really, really, really great cigars.
Yeah, I think cigar ratings are sometimes they're good, but generally, my favorite people to talk to are the people that work in cigar shops, that day in and day out manage a quantity of cigars. And whenever I travel, I stop by a cigar shop or cigar lounge, and I just talk to the person that works there, and they have the best suggestions on what's smoking really well. And like I was telling you yesterday or earlier, I mean, when I find a cigar I really like, I try to buy a couple boxes and throw it in my humidor. As you see behind me.
Humidor just before the call. It looks big.
It's about I don't know what it is. It's maybe 20 feet wide by about 12 feet tall. But at one time I was telling you earlier, fit about 20,000 cigars at some time.
It's for us. It's what 6 meters by 3.6. So it's huge.
Well, I bought it from a cigar lounge that went out of business, and I went to their auction to see what they had, and they had this, and it's all custom made, beautiful. Got it for $650. It was a steal. Anyway.
How do you keep humidity in it?
I actually have I have a system that is plugged into my plumbing. So there's a humidifier that I have downstairs in our one of the closets, and I pipe water up, and I have 2 big humidifiers at the bottom of this that pump out humidity. And then I have it's regulated by a humidifier and temperature gauge. So it goes up, goes down. But yeah, I distill water downstairs, and then I pump the distilled water up.
Yeah, it makes sense for a cabin this size. Yeah, for sure. So Dusty, let's talk about business a bit. So Tectonics, Team Tectonic, how did you start it? It's like 25 years of history from what I read.
Yeah. So in 1999, I had just become newly married. And I had some friends on the East Coast say, hey, help us with Y2K stuff. So I flew there. And then I left that company in 6 months. It didn't work out. And so not knowing what to do, I was waiting tables at night and decided I'd start a company, doing some consulting. I thought, how hard is it? It was the .com boom, right? So I jumped on the .com boom and started working with some associations that I met. Then started building custom content management systems. So I hired my first employee because I grew up overseas in Indonesia. One of my childhood acquaintances, I flew him over. I got an H-1B for him, visa, flew him over, and was me and him for a couple of years. He'd program, I'd sleep on the floor. He'd wake me up, I'd get up, test it, and do design. He'd sleep on the floor, and we'd go back and forth for a while. I remember after 2 years, he asked me if he could take Sunday off, and I was like, maybe. There's just so much business and so much opportunity. It's kind of like now with AI. It's just so much going on. So I built CMSs, and then our clients liked our work and web stuff, and they said, can you handle our infrastructure? So I said, sure. And I expanded to infrastructure, and we started our own MSP then. And then one of our projects with one of our clients ballooned into a workflow application management system. And so that became our first SaaS product, Orchestrate. And then after that, we had people that were like, hey, you grew up overseas. Do you have any offshore labor we can use? And I was like, sure. So I started our offshore arbitrage of labor. And that was both in programming, but it really went more into back office processing. So we have a lot of bookkeepers and back office processing folks offshore in our environment there. And then it just kept on going. So as we grew and clients wanted us to do different things, we just kept expanding our service base. And now we're about 80 people in the States, about 130 offshore. We originally started as a company called eResources, and we just rebranded in January to Tectonic. And our URL is Team Tectonic because we couldn't get that URL, tectonic.com. And we serve multiple verticals. We do about 15, 16 million a year. That's what we're pegged at for this year. And we grew largely through acquisitions. From 2015 to now, we acquired about 5 companies and integrated them into our company. And we're constantly looking. We're looking at acquiring a couple more right now. So seems like a natural progression for us. We've been able to master that process. It's not easy, but it's fun.
Yep. About vertical integration. So your LinkedIn says that all these companies are vertically integrated. How does it work for you? What does it mean?
Vertically integrated technology company, where we tell a lot of companies come to us and we're their technology partner. They don't come to us for just one little service. Sometimes they do. But generally speaking, a lot of our clients come to us and say, hey, we have this problem we need to solve. And we're like, great. That problem includes, your digital presence, includes your line of business software, SaaS products you're using, your hosting environment, your DevOps, your infrastructure. And so we're able to tackle all the things that surround a company's technology needs. And again, sometimes people just come and say, hey, manage our infrastructure. But generally speaking, over time, our clients are very much looking for a partner in technology that understands the whole scope of a technology implementation. And that's what we do. So that's why I said vertically integrated, from infrastructure to digital to strategy to management and DevOps.
Yeah, you mentioned like in our pre-call, a new business niche is human QA for AI agents.
What's that? Say one more. My ear cut off.
You mentioned during our pre-call a new business niche for human QA for AI agents.
Yeah,
How do
absolutely.
you see it? How do you see it? Because it starts making sense. And no, do you have any advancement in that direction, or is it just new
On
idea?
AI agents,
Yeah.
yeah, we definitely we're constantly creating them, and we're constantly learning from our mistakes and creating them. Having a good harness and good scaffolding is definitely necessary when you're doing an agent. I think a lot of times, and I think this is true with anything, a lot of folks, when we start to create any technology, we don't really understand the problem we're trying to solve. We think we do. We say, yeah, this is the problem we're trying to solve, but not a lot of time is spent historically and even now describing the problem, understanding the problem, and more importantly, I think describing the outcome you want. Um, I think people are very knee jerk in their problem solving. They're like, I need to have an agent scrape the stuff off the internet, right? But they don't really talk about what's the problem they're really trying to solve. What's the problem? And it's usually there's a bigger problem underneath, which is I'm not generating enough leads in this specific thing, and really starting to understand that. So I think a lot of AI development, a lot of agent development, a lot of agentic work is really centered, going to be a lot of human restructuring how we think and being more clear about it. It just takes more clarity to do good AI work, to be honest with you. Because otherwise, you just have shitty agents.
Yeah, crap in, crap out. Awesome. 25 years of history. How did business change over these 25 years? So you started
Oh
from
man,
.com bubble, and it did change a few times. How did it change? And
it's a good question. Yeah, the more it changes, the more it stays the same in some ways. I think I think the change is in the speed of change right now. The .com bubble, yeah, it was fast, but in this AI world, the speed of change is so fast. It's hard to keep up. Like I was just reading last night. I'm like, oh, I should change this because I built something on Thursday and it's obsolete on Monday. Not obsolete, but there's a better way of doing it. I'm spending a lot of time building a second brain structure for me with Obsidian
yeah, we
and
will chat about that for sure.
yeah. So I've been building that, and then I ran across a guy last night who's he built one for scratch and cloud code, and it solves some of the problems of Obsidian. I'm like, that makes so much more sense. Um, I think also nowadays compared to .com, that what's changed is because of social media and because of influencers and whatever, there's so much exchange of ideas right now that didn't occur back in 2000. Like people are much more generous with their ideas, either be out of selfishness or out of they're just generous people. But you can go on and get repos, do it at your own risk, of course. But people are constantly sharing their knowledge, and I think that's increasing the rapidity of change. So I would say that's the biggest change: is speed, and information sharing is so rapid nowadays. Whereas back then in .com, it was much slower. Then the way things haven't changed is that I think there's a lot of innovation that was there in .com, and that same spirit of innovation is still here. In fact, it's grown in some ways. Um, People are just it's fun. It's a lot of fun right now to try things.
Yeah, for sure. And since you already mentioned it, that like you build something on Thursday, on Monday it's obsolete, or maybe not obsolete, but there is a better idea, a better way to do things. And how do you even keep up with all of that? How do you stay, on the edge of current
You
one?
know,
Because it's constant FOMO. It's like fear of missed opportunity, because you're constantly seeing that already something's happening. You don't know everything, and it's weird.
yeah. Early on, I mean, I remember I was in Costa Rica for a conference and I was working on another agentic tool I was building. And, I'd leave people go out to eat and I'd run back to my room and start working again. And maybe 3 or 4 nights in a row, I'd start hearing birds. I'm like, where are these birds? And it was like 6 a.m. I had worked all night uh, doing some work. And so there is just like, I probably slept 3, 4 hours that week just because you're constantly finding stuff and learning. But you can't keep that up. That's, I'm an old man. I'm in my 50s here. So you can't keep that up and it's not healthy. But I was reminded, I remember thinking there, I'm like, man, I'm fear of missing out. But because change is happening so fast, you're going to miss out regardless. You're going to be leapfrogging your work every week. You're going to leapfrog into another snare. So you're not going to miss out. It is what it is. The train's going at 500 miles an hour, and wherever you get off that evening, it's going to be, you go to bed and you're going to be another 1,000 miles down the road a little later when something else changes. But I remember someone telling me about Google, and it's always stuck with me, that Google was the 18th search engine that ever got developed. I don't know if you remember Yahoo or Alta Vista or all those names. When it came to search engines, Google's number 18. It's number 1 now. It's not about being first all the time. It's about doing a good product. And sometimes sitting back a little bit and going slower and absorbing is going to be better. So I think you still keep plugging forward, but I think having that anxiety is not helpful, personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I hear you because I have the same. So sometimes you just stay with Claude until 5 a.m. Even just with your phone, you got a lot to do with your second brain. So,
that's the worst thing about it, is not Claude's on my phone. And I've created through Slack, I can chat with Claude on my desktop now. And I'm like, I need to turn that off, because what do I do when I get home? My wife's like, "What are you doing?" Because I talk to it. I don't type very much anymore. I talk. My wife's like, "Who are you talking to?" And I'm like, "I'm talking to Claude." She's like, "It's not a person." It's just like, okay, fine. I'm talking to the software. She's like, "Put it up." She's very much, my wife's not anti-technology, but she does see the danger of it really taking over. I mean, we have 3 kids, and one of them's a big gamer. So it can consume you. And, it is what it is. It's just life.
how do you we discussed about keeping up? It's not possible, but still, the train is moving really fast and technology is moving really fast. And it's weird because the whole world is not keeping up. All the people in the world, they are not keeping up with the advancement of technology of few frontier labs, and this gap is growing. And what then?
Yeah,
What's next? Because I know that I am constantly learning. I am learning with a pace that was not possible even a year before, and constantly checking, trying something new. But I'm not keeping up. I see that I'm not keeping up. So.
Yeah, I think those frontier labs are great and everything, but at the end of the day, wherever they're going, it's kind of like a flash flood, right? I feel like that's what AI is. You're in the desert and this wall of water is coming and it's going in, but it just keeps going. It doesn't get to soak in. And what really needs is time for some of this stuff to soak in. And I'm not worried about, frontier labs keep on going, but adoption of it is going to be it's going to take time. People are not going to adopt it. And I also think when you go very fast, you make a lot of mistakes. And you can see that happening right now. I mean, what was I looking at the other day? Like some 40% of new hacks are all AI generated daily. It's just like, so a lot of this is me just sitting down and going, yeah, it's going fast. But for it to ever really work, it needs to be absorbed by people. It needs to, the relationships have it. So I'm not worried in the short term. I think if you're a CEO of a company and you're not in it every day and working on it and thinking about it, you're not necessarily 100% in trouble, because you can always hire people. but you should be knowing that this is coming down the road, and you should find ways to integrate it.
Every CEO is maybe not CEO, but every founder is thinking about it. I've had about 60 interviews this year already, and like every single one is, if it comes down to founders, every single one is worried and is searching, is experimenting, because
Yeah, I wouldn't be worried.
entrepreneur, yeah.
I wouldn't be. I wouldn't be. Yeah, as a founder, I'm not worried. I am. My anxiety comes from: are we making the right investment of time in this area? We're making investments in AI, but there's so many areas to invest in AI. I mean, so many opportunities. Should I spend this week building this agent? Is it really going to actually move the needle? And then sometimes I'm like, I'm going to build this agent because it's going to be a learning experience for me. Because I need to learn this and this concept and everything. And you might not use that agent. Like I have a pipeline agent for making content right now. It's 8 agents working together building content. And I paused it for a while because I just don't have the time to focus on it. But it's an important thing to know, content is king at the end of the day. People, that's how we get all anxious about AI, is we're reading other people's content. So yeah, it's hard to know where to invest your time.
It is. What do you think the future of services are? Like, both of us run some services companies, and especially engineering services companies, and they are changing. So they are changing a lot.
They are
nowadays.
They're changing how you do work, right?
Yeah, but still, like the pace of the technology advancement and the majority of people in the world, the gap is growing. Probably there is some space for technology companies, but it's not necessarily in pure engineering anymore.
No, it's not. I mean, the fact that I'm coding stuff is ridiculous, to be quite honest with you.
Same here. I haven't been coding for 15 years, and nowadays I'm actually coding.
I put stuff into production for clients that I have maybe 6 months ago, I couldn't even know how to do. But I have a personal agent that just trains me, and then you can set it off on its own task and then come back and check on it in 3 hours. And it's like, oh, that looks pretty good. Now, is the coding perfect? I don't know. Does it work? 100%. And then every week I learn about a new way to audit your own code for security or whatever. But, I have my own Supabase. I have Git. I've got, a render account. I've got all this stuff that I never would have had 6 months ago. Like, I didn't even know what those things existed. I would have to, talk to one of our developers and say, hey, I need this. And it would take 6 months to get done. Now I get it done in a week. You're right. It's changing rapidly. And if your team is not using AI to develop code or at least help them, I think you're screwed, to be quite honest. The most valuable people are the people that know how to use AI in conjunction with their software development. Like, I wish I was a software developer, because it's like having an excavator as opposed to, using a shovel. It's crazy.
Yeah, and you can do a lot. And all the business owners are nowadays looking for efficiency, especially in certain niches. Like, we work a lot with travel, and travel margin is really thin. So everybody's trying to look for some operational efficiency. And seeing that a lot of work can be done with AI, and probably they don't need the teams of that size, that brings trouble to the industry, to the services industry.
Yeah, it's funny. There's so many opportunities. Like, I know our legal counsel uses AI to go through 60-page contracts within 5 minutes, and it redlines exactly, and it knows the law. It knows the state law. It knows, what the industry standard is. Like, we've trained it with skills. And so what would have taken like $5,000 worth of legal fees now takes us maybe $400, where we get a final sign off from our lawyer who takes, 30 minutes on it and goes, yeah, that looks good. Whereas before it would be like back and forth and back and forth. And what a pain. What a pain. So yeah. Yeah, I think legal is the first place that every owner or founder should, spin up a skill for their quad and cut that out of the way. That's such a junk amount of money.
Yeah,
And
for
I
sure.
mean, I don't hate lawyers, but man, I hate the law fees.
Yeah. Well, what other industries can be disrupted besides legal? What other industry,
Well,
especially
I
since
think
you're sitting here, you can build any product in the world nowadays and in quite fast. And
yeah,
what
I
would you
think
do?
I think the baseline is any industry that has objective data, like syntax, content that's consistent, that has structure and process that's defined, can be completely upended right now. I think marketing companies are screwed, to be quite honest, because everyone's just going to have their AI do their marketing for them and constantly work it. Like those people that send you 5 million emails a day. Hey, I can get you 10 more leads. I'm like, I don't need you anymore. I just don't need you anymore. I can do that just fine. I have my AI go out to LinkedIn and go into Apollo IO and enrich my own data for me. I don't need these companies. So I'd say marketing definitely is easy from a service industry standpoint. Content companies, I still think you need content people to sign off on it and make sure it's humanized correctly. But all the research that goes into it, we have one agent that uses Perplexity to go out and research all the stuff around a topic. I have another agent that's a strategy agent that goes and looks at all our competitors and what they're ranking for and what we're ranking at and comes up with an idea. We should write content on this topic. And I know and it looks at our tickets in our system and goes, I know we solved these problems in these 5 clients. And then it says, here's the brief. And then have Perplexity take it and enrich it with content from the third parties that are ranked pretty high. And then I have a writing agent that takes that brief and the strategy and writes the brief. And then you keep on going down the pipeline, and that stuff used to take weeks. Weeks. But there's so much data that we have that you can mine. Data mining is going to be huge. There's a lot of data people already have in their company, and they're thinking that they have to create content. You already have content. You just need to organize it correctly. That's one. I think the gaming environment is going to be disrupted. I think gaming is such a big industry that now creating engines for gaming are going to be very easy to do, or even great games on top of engines that already exist. You can tell an idea to an AI. I was telling my son this. I'm like, you love gaming. Let's disrupt some games. He's 17. He's like, that sounds interesting. So I think gaming is a big one. I have some ideas on that. But yeah, there's what industry can't be disrupted? I mean, even like a roofing company. I was thinking the other day, should I sell my company one day, 10, 15 years, and just buy like a labor-based company? But soon you're going to have robots that are going to embody AI, and that's going to take a lot of that stuff off. What did I see the other day? I saw a robot laying tile. It's crazy. Laying tile perfectly in a house. I mean, that's used to be a real big skill, tiling, making sure it's correct and level. This robot had it completely done. It's crazy. I don't know. You're having my mind work now, and I'm just gonna keep just thinking out loud here. I mean, you've seen it with music too. Music's been disrupted. People making new songs and new versions of stuff. It's crazy.
There is a big trend nowadays, emerging trend that people want to consume human content. I've seen that a lot in different areas, especially since I mentioned travel. In travel, people want to see and hear content from other people. People kind of feel this AI generating content and are looking for another human being behind the content, So, what happens if everybody is using this? Like you mentioned, marketing. What happens if everybody will be having this kind of agents that are doing marketing job? So it's agents fighting with agents, competing with agents.
Yeah, I think the differentiation that's going to be in the future here is it's going to be an arms race with AI, right? People are going to constantly build more and more AI agents, and it's going to be just kind of a war in that. But the ones that are going to win out are people that actually have the AI lead people to the actual human, and the relationships are going to be the one that win out. Being able to talk to someone and understand their situation, be able to empathize with them, those are the people that are going to win at the end of the day, I think. AI is just a tool. It is not the relationship builder. The person still has to build that relationship, still has to make sure that people feel understood and heard. The nuance that a human has, you just can't get that from an agent in some ways. Just the idea of an embodied person. Maybe one day it'll get there. Maybe. I'm not a big believer AGI will come out, but maybe. I'm not as confident as Elon is, but he knows more than me. He's a smarter guy.
Maybe.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, so I don't know. I think the relationship-centric organization is going to win in the long run. And using AI to get you to those relationships is probably going to be the combination factor.
Yeah, kind of. The content creators industry right now is booming, so it's getting bigger and bigger. Then, yeah.
It's funny because I remember like 5 years ago, I had a friend of mine, very forward looking. He's like, he sold his company, and I was like, "What are you going to do?" He's like, "I'm going to just make content." It's like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, he said, "The future's content." I was like, "Really?" He's like, "Yeah." And you know what? He's doing great now. He's been making content like crazy, and he was right, because people are hungry, super hungry to consume new, interesting, content that's relative to them, targeted content, right? And so if you're in a niche, I think that's what all those influencers, they're in a very small niche that people are looking at, and they want that. And so if you can create a bunch of content that's niche driven, you're going to be really good.
Yeah, I'm seeing the same. So there are friends of ours who are doing content, some business content in like specific niches, and selling courses. I don't know, educating people. So it just works. So and they're doing quite well.
You know what's going to be disrupted when you talk about that? Education.
Oh, for sure.
I think the university is almost dead in the future, because you can build your own university overnight. Your curriculum, you can. I had an agent create. So I'm taking my daughter to Japan. I will leave Wednesday, and we're going to go for 10 days. And she loves all things Japanese. So we're actually going to a stationery festival of all things. So we're going there, and I wanted to be educational. So I've been working with Claude for the last couple months, getting the schedule, getting things back and forth. And so last night I was working, and I was like, "Hey, I want you to create a brief each day based on where we're going, give some historical context, some education, and then I want you to weave all our sites that we're going to over the next 10 days together in a comprehensive kind of educational framework." It was amazing. It's amazing. Like, I have a brief each day that we'll both get a brief emailed to us about what we're doing that day, what we need to look for, what we're learning, some of the questions we're going to be answered when we go to like a temple or a museum or some kind of experience. So I think education in the future is, a kid is going to be assessed by agents, their capabilities, their standards, and then you're going to sculpt their degree for them or their learning experience for them. And the idea of like a Harvard will be more of a university will be more of a
networking.
like a concierge, and a networking environment. You're going to go and learn custom things in that niche at that kind of university, and they're going to help you with the relational. It's going to be more of a non-linear, you know, stair step type thing. Everyone's going to learn at their own speed. So I don't know if the degree is going to be as important. I think you might have the university being the certifier of your education. You know, hey, yeah, you did this custom thing, blah blah blah, and you meet certain standards, but you went about it totally different. We're going to certify it, and we're going to introduce you to this network of people that you're going to be part of. You grew up with them. So I think that's education, honestly, is going to be wild. I think the American public school system is terrible. Terrible. Don't even have, and we could overnight change this to where a kid comes in through at kindergarten, gets assessed, and starts get custom learning environments set for them. I'm excited about that. I'd love to see that change.
I think it's even bigger. So it's, if before access to education was based on the finance you have, right now you can like easily access any kind of information. Right now, it's like your education mostly depends on your willingness to learn. And if you're eager to learn and to advance, you will be. If not, then you won't. And
But I think a lot of that though, Oleksij, is eagerness to learn. Like my son, super smart kid, very smart, has ADHD. If he doesn't find something interesting, it doesn't matter what you do or say. He just won't do it. I mean, he takes advanced chemistry classes, advanced math classes, advanced all his classes, but one class doesn't work for him. He's like, I don't care. And he is smart enough to have straight A's and everything, but it's a matter of interest. And I think what you're going to have in the new educational system is the idea of being interested in learning is completely related to the topic that you're offering and also how you're delivering the educational experience. I think we are natural learners. Human beings want to learn. We absorb things. You know, look, kids from an early age just absorb. But I think the education system in the States is like, no, you have to absorb this crap. And a lot of kids are like, I don't even care about that crap. I'm not going to even try to absorb. So it kills their desire to learn. And so I think the education system in the future is going to be like, hey, we're going to customize your experience so that you are ready to consume this. And yes, we'll stretch you. There's times you need to stretch someone and go learn something that's outside your spectrum, but how you deliver that. And my son will tell you, he's like, he had English classes, you know, in high school, just were terrible. But when he got to an English course where the teacher was good and they taught it in a way he could consume it, he's got a straight A. It's crazy. But his other English classes were like C's because they're just horrible. They weren't customized to him. So yeah, I agree with you. I think the future of education is definitely the learner, but I think we can help learners that have a hard time absorbing get on an on-ramp. A lot of kids are being left behind because they're being forced in a one-size-fits-all kind of environment, and that's terrible.
And especially nowadays with like, you can make one-person business, which was quite complicated before. Nowadays, you can like run as a person or group of 2 or 3 people. You can run a business, and quite a big and successful one. So it's really, you know, the entrepreneurship also changes, and this this education will be like moving towards like, well, what you want to achieve, because I'm constantly learning nowadays because I have some vision, I have some goal, and I'm just moving there because I'm an entrepreneur. And you can do it nowadays from a young age, quite a young age.
Yeah. I think you hit on something that's really important. You just said it. I think entrepreneurship is really completely dependent on your purpose. And if you don't have a purpose, you're not going to, with anything, learning, with, you know, a job, with anything, the purpose really does drive it. And, I'm not I like Simon Sinek, and I don't want to preach the why thing all the time, but it is important to ask yourself, why are you doing what you're doing? And sometimes a lot of people are just doing what they're doing because they got to make a paycheck. And that's a good why. Sometimes, you got to pay the mortgage or pay for, your kid's schooling or whatever it is. But I think the more people, I think this is where university can really help, or the education framework, helping kids understand their why and their purpose and their skills. And I think once you get someone going, I want to be a best chef in the world, like I love cooking or whatever it might be, they're going to take off, and AI can assist that. But I think the biggest service people could ever get in this world of AI is someone that can help shepherd them and counsel them to find their purpose, because that'll change everything.
Yeah, for sure. Moving back to our services business, how did you?
Sorry.
No problem. That's a great one. I also have a daughter, so I'm thinking over like what's next for her, because I have no idea where to move nowadays. But back
It'll be a lot different than you imagine. That's for sure, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I cannot tell her go into IT, because what's IT nowadays? Yeah,
for sure.
Sorry, please.
Yeah, back to service business. Go ahead.
Yeah. How did your clients' landscape change recently? Because for us, it's changing. How did it affect you? What kind of clients are coming, and what kind of business, what sizes, and what are their demands recently?
I think the clients are shaking out for sure. There's clients that are very forward thinking and trying to get ahead of certain things. And there's some clients that I'm not saying they're ignoring things, but they don't know how to grasp it. So, I'm thinking of 3 or 4 clients right now that we have AI initiatives in front of, that they've been clients of ours for a while. And we did a free assessment, basically us going in, and we know what they do in their business. And I'm like, hey, here's 2 areas that you really need to focus on. And they all get very excited. They get right to the finish line. The statement of work is in front of them, and then they don't sign. So that's one group of clients, is they see it, but they're not willing to grasp it, because there's it's not an understanding, and there's some fear, and it's weird. Then you have the other clients, which are usually larger, that have more to risk, right? When you're a small company, mid-sized company, you can kind of swim in that area for a while. But the larger companies have a lot stiffer competition. And so they'll come to us and say, we have these 8 massive initiatives that we have identified that we need to work on. And it's almost like too much work, right? And we'll say, okay, let's start tackling. And they're like, we want it all done right away. And here's a bucket of money, just do it, And so there's the wait and see kind of clients that are interested. And then there's the clients that are like, we need to be there yesterday. And that's the tension for us, is like, as a partner with these clients, our job is to help them focus. And the biggest problem that we're seeing in a lot of clients, regardless of whether they want to do it right away or wait and see, is it's uncovering a lot of uncomfortable conversations for them, mainly around how they do business. Because the first thing to do when you do any AI initiative is, let's look at your people and your processes. And when you start having that conversation, it gets very uncomfortable very fast. And the bigger firms are willing to have that because they have less of a personal loyalty to an individual. But also the people that you're talking to, those big companies, when you interview them and you do your assessment, you find out they have never documented any processes. And they're like, no, we're a really well-run company. I'm like, no, you're not. Your people are good. Thank God you have those people there, but you haven't documented. If this person goes, you're screwed. You're going to have to figure out things all over again. And so we spend a lot of time talking about processes, boring topics like governance. How do you manage your data? Who's in charge of data? Because if you don't have a good compliance and governance structure in your organization, you're going to, and you let AI loose on it, you're going to have drift so fast in your organization, and you're going to be like, this AI sucks. I'm like, no, the AI doesn't suck. You actually suck because you haven't done the hard work. And so a lot of the initial conversations that we have with clients, we get to that point and they don't want to have that tough conversation. Usually the small ones. The big ones are like, okay, we'll have that conversation. And we're working with some higher education institutions, which are very slow. And then we're working right now with a big manufacturing company. And we're telling them, like, before you can get the benefit AI, you have to start running your business like you should have been running it before. Let's do process documentation. Let's do process engineering. Because AI is the smartest employee you ever had that knows nothing about your organization, right? That's what I always tell them. And if you feed them bad process, you're going to get bad output. But if you feed it good process, and you're going to get much better output. So those are the first conversations. And I think that differentiates the smaller from the bigger companies overall, is that the bigger ones are willing to have that hard conversation. Smaller ones, like, we've been doing it this way for 20 years, I just want you to make it faster. I'm like, I can't make this go faster if you don't understand how you do your own work, And then you start uncovering shadow data and shadow processes and all that stuff. And it's a lot of work to do it right.
You're stepping in to automate some of the processes and some data streams. So yeah, in this case, yeah, it makes sense. For us, it's a bit different because we're seeing the bigger clients, like everybody's trying to build their own moats, and
Yeah.
So they are trying to secure their business by building the moats around, and then like trying to keep the knowledge inside, the intellectual property inside. So they are not that eager to give the work away. But there are other clients, like you mentioned, they're coming because they have this FOMO and they like need everything yesterday. So they understand that they're missing out on this market, and they seeing market is moving, competition is moving, and we need it yesterday.
Yeah, I agree more than that. The mode thing is a very interesting thing.
It's something new.
I think
It wasn't here before. At least I haven't experienced it. But nowadays I'm hearing mode. Everybody's talking about mode.
Yeah. I mean, SaaS product. The moat used to be, they had this a process that was automated, but now you can automate that process, right? So that's gone. I always talk about how the software layer is collapsing, and it's software is not what it used to be. And I almost think that screens are going to be on demand in the future. It's not going to be something that you go to this one screen and you have drop downs. You're just going to ask questions of your AI, and it's going to produce a screen so that you can digest the information, right? When I was we were interviewing some other folks the other day for some roles, and they asked about the CTO role, and I said, I don't think the CTO role is going to be around much longer. I don't think I think you need someone that's a director of development and a director of agency services or something like that. But the CTO role, because is not important. It's a bottleneck now. It's not actually an enhancement, because AI gives a lot of the tools and stuff and analysis that CTOs would do, and it sends it to the whole organization, right? So one of the things the change of work that we're trying to do is, I want account managers, and I think the account manager, project manager, and the strategist are all going to collapse into one role. Because project management.
Yes, sir. So it means the CTO as a role is not needed anymore. It's not engineering leadership, but it's CTO as a role.
You're going to have a different role. It's not going to be what CTO was in the old times.
Yeah.
I just don't see it, because in our company, it's interesting to see people that rise and fall with AI. And I think the person in the company that's a strategist is the most valuable person in the long term, because they think about the problems. People that think about the problems and try to provide a solution are the most valuable people. And that's why founders do so well, because that's what we did, right? We thought about problems and we thought about solutions for it. But in your organization, if you can find a good strategist, they tend to be almost close to account management, right? Because they understand the client, they're working with the client. And I think the project management role is kind of going away in some ways. You're you're eliminating it because you can automate project management. What is project management but setting up meetings? You know, you can just eliminate that and
It's
go
an over.
directly.
Right now, if one person can work as a team before, and only by that you eliminate a lot of communication, a lot of management, prioritization, all that kind of crap.
Yeah,
So,
you're flattening a lot of the organizational layer right now. AI is doing that, I think,
yeah,
from
yeah.
just a pure automation standpoint.
But we call it like we think. I think that probably the future is some kind of engineering builders, like people who can build and deliver, and who can understand what to build. It's kind of mixture of product engineering, management skills in one person. And if a person has this kind of mixture and has some clue in engineering, it's a really powerful employee. So
Yeah, especially if you pair it with a bunch of agents that are mature agents, development agents. You don't need CTO used to be, security centric. You can have a security agent that audits everything and is constantly updating itself against threats, right? You don't need a bottleneck of a CTO, and everybody can access that security agent in your whole organization. And before anything goes to production, it runs through that. Same thing with compliance for accessibility. The CTO used to set accessibility standards based on YCAG in the States and all kinds of stuff. Now that stuff is flattened. It goes straight into the actual development right away. It's baked in. So there's so many things the CTO used to have responsibility and control with no longer is necessary. So I honestly think that role is just, and the same thing with chief information officer, right? I think chief strategy officer might be a more important role than all of them, to be honest with you, because you have to be constantly learning and thinking and looking out there. But anyway, organizational stuff. I think about this a lot when I think about our company.
what do you think the
But
future of engineering is? Because like cloud SaaS, cloud developers, Boris Cherny, he said, like, this cloud code, we have solved programming, we have solved coding, but solving coding for me doesn't mean solving engineering. What's the future
that's
of
100%
engineering?
true.
And
Yeah,
especially when like sorry, year or two ago, NA10 was really popular, and everybody's like, there were lots of videos like, okay, programming is solved because we have semi-visual approach to combine APIs together, obviously, and NA10, but nowadays, like, we started this discussion after cigar talk. We started about building harness and so on and so forth. It's already engineering. It's not so simple. It's not as easy as opening Cloud and chatting with Cloud. So building a proper harness with especially lots of gauges that should be orchestrated somehow, and so on and so forth. It's complicated engineering task. It requires some engineering mindset. So what are your thoughts on engineering in overall? Like, what's the future of engineering?
yeah. I agree that coding may be solved. Anything that's objective data and syntax, yeah, sure, that's solved. But you're not solving problem solving. Um, Engineering is about problem solving at its very core. What you've done with like cloud code and all these AIs is you've enhanced the tooling set that you have access to, so you can do things faster, you can iterate faster, you can test faster. All those things are helpful. If you just look like at a physical engineering shop, it's like the difference between getting a hand lathe and a power lathe, right? You immediately increase the ability to do more faster. And I think engineering future engineering is going to be very problem centric, like understanding problems, adjusting them, using AI to kind of test and iterate through solutions faster. And I think good engineers in the future are going to be ones that can iterate and use AI to iterate as fast as they can to try to eliminate the problems that they're trying to solve. I also think the future in engineering is the ability to break down things far. And I see this in AI. You come up with a really good idea and you start creating your MD file about the concept you're doing. So when I do a agent, I probably, by the time I'm done, I spend maybe 2 days working with Claude, and I have 6,000 lines in my markdown file describing what I want, how it works. Then you take that to make it really effective is then you tell Claude, break this down into small working pieces, like one piece at a time. And after each piece, we're going to test that piece, and then we're going to, bake it in. Then we're going to test another piece. I think early days of Claude is like, hey, build this whole thing. And you build all these things and it's all clunky, right? And I think engineering is really about breaking things down into smaller and smaller pieces and understanding how those pieces interact and how they work. And so the future engineering is bright. I think being an engineer, really good, but it's going to be more on understanding the problem and using the tools to help iterate out of that problem in small chunks.
Yeah, rather than moving pixels,
Exactly. Pixels are so.com, right?
Yeah, probably pixels are solved finally.
But I was trying to explain this to someone the other day. I was like, I think the screen is dead. Having screens is just not important anymore. And I see people working with Claude and Codex, and they're building screens. I'm like, that's not the problem you need to be solving. You need to be solving what is the problem the screens are trying to show you. And I find that even with myself, I can get lost down in a rabbit hole of how it's rendered instead of focusing on the problem that it's trying to render. Does that make sense? People are like, oh, I want to see this in a pie chart. Don't worry about the pie chart right now. Worry about the problem solving. And eventually you should have it so you just talk to it and go, where are we on fourth quarter XYZ? And it'll just produce a screen for that conversation. You don't need to have a screen that you go to all the time. And it dawned on me because I built a data reporting interface for one of our teams just because I wanted to know more stuff. So I got an API into this ERP software we have, and I wanted to find out certain things, and it just produces it all the time. I'm like, and what it's producing is an answer to a question. It's not producing a pie chart. And I think it's a different way of thinking. When you think about engineering, I want it to produce an answer. I don't want it to produce a web page. I don't want it to produce a screen. Does what it produce answer the question you actually have? And so from future of engineering is, do I actually understand the question that's being asked? Do I understand how to answer that question? Those are really different skill sets than programming.
Absolutely. That's a really great point, actually. I'm hearing that a lot about that future is not about screens or apps. Future is about answering the questions, because LLM even nowadays can produce you any kind of report easily. If you want to visualize
garbage.
data and understand the data, you just get this kind of report visualization. So yesterday I was trying to compare some numbers and so on. So I just asked, like, show me some charts. It did one-time script. I've seen the chart, and then that's basically it. It was thrown away. I got my information. I got my answer. So I didn't,
exactly.
I don't need to see that.
What's interesting too, Oleksij, on this is historical data. Before we used to, we collected data so we could look at it over time in the past. And the screens were all about looking over time. I don't think you need that anymore. I think when you're like, I'm looking at like some financial software that we have, and I'm pulling data out of it. I focus more now on the question that I'm trying to figure out from our financial data instead of going into the financial data and playing with it. Does that make sense? It's a different way of approaching problem solving. I'm thinking more about what I'm trying to understand. And sometimes it's good to look at a screen and play around with it and blah, 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 I guess. But the more I'm working, the more I'm thinking about, I don't need the historical data. I need the context historically for an answer. I don't need the data. I need the context and I need the delta on numbers. Because before I used to print out reams and reams of spreadsheets and look through them and stuff. And that's no longer necessary. And it takes up just lots of brain space to try to go through spreadsheets. Just get to the answer as fast as you can once you understand the question. I don't know. I might be rambling a little bit, but I think when it comes to screens and things like that, I think they've almost held us captive. Like you can only think in the context of that screen. And if you put that screen aside and start thinking in the context of what you're trying to understand and solve, and then have it produce an example of it, the better. Because I can think it dawned on me like maybe last month or so when I was just like going through reams of spreadsheets on something. My world was confined to that spreadsheet, and that's all I could see. I couldn't see all the other context stuff. And again, going to the second brain idea with the contextual graph, when you start looking at things from a context basis and not being stuck in a screen, you're going to see a lot more. I'm going to have to refine what I'm trying to say, but I think you understand what I'm trying to come across here.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, yeah, you got a question and you need to have this kind of answer to move further. And if you are stuck into like analysis of a lot of data, you just lose the context. Especially nowadays with current advancement of AI technologies, you got to keep moving really fast, and you need to have quick answers to your questions to move further.
So for the agent I'm trying to create for my second brain right now, I'm calling it the librarian. And
I got one.
You have a librarian too?
Yeah.
So my librarian's job is to look for contextual relationships I don't see. And I'm looking at my context graph and all the, it looks like a star chart, right? Of all the lines and stars and stuff. And I'm like, what am I missing here? And it comes back with some really crazy, interesting stuff. I'm like, I didn't see it that way. So I'm constantly being moved. My context is constantly being shifted and refined. But if in the past, if I just looked at, a siloed data source, that's all I'm seeing. And I think having the second brain idea is more about learning more about what you're absorbing and being able to have a context for it that you've never seen. It's really fun, to be quite honest. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I'm also obsessed with this idea of second brain. I'm building it for a couple of months already. So
I can't stop.
maybe let's chat briefly about it. So they're using Cloud and Obsidian for what I understand to visualize.
That's my main thing. I'm looking at another one. So for my semantic brain, I'm using Obsidian, and that's the most important part of the brain. And then I can't even think of the tool. I'm looking at another tool that's going to be more for episodic content, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do it yet. But I want to take episodic content and promote it into semantic when it's ready. I'm using the second brain concept, the Para framework. I don't know if you're using Para framework. The projects, areas. I really like that framework, actually. I find it to be the best, simplest framework for me to use. But there's other things that are not, that I need to add to that too. So yeah, I wrestle with this all the time.
I split it into domains, projects within these domains. Domains is basically what I'm dealing with, like both private and work related. project within these domains. Besides, I have some journals, like short-term memory, and what else? Notes. I use a lot of notes, like any kind of videos, any kind of articles that did touch me some way. I just throw it into cloud. It knows what to deal with it. It asks me some follow-up questions. We can discuss, brainstorm it, and it gets stored there. So
Yeah.
and I got a librarian who is looking around and built all these connections between data points. So
Yep.
that like 2 or 3 months later, it can remind me that, by the way, we've discussed that like 2 months ago.
Yeah. I have it take all my conversations, any videos, and it scrapes all that, throws it into resources. Podcast, whatever. Like this podcast, when it comes out, it's gonna. I have a ingest agent that basically goes through my email. My email is my primary source of content that it comes in around. So every hour, it goes through it and goes, this looks like that content, and it creates a backlog of stuff I have to review. Do you want this in here? Yes, no. And then it learns, right? That's no longer important. That's not important. So I get tons of newsletters that I can't read them all, but I'm like, hey, read them for me. Tell me what's relevant based on what you see me doing. And I'll be like, yeah, you should read this section here. I'm going to add it to your resources. And so it just starts building stuff. And the danger is you can start ingesting so much content into that thing. And then I use Obsidian Sync. So I have a server that's my master. And that Claude's sitting on there always running, right? It's never off. And then my desktop I work on, and then my phone, all that. So learning the infrastructure and how that all works together and having your agent read all that stuff and ingest it, it's been quite a journey for me.
Yeah, but you can do a lot with Claude and with proper agents behind to build your second brain. But I find Obsidian to be limited nowadays. It's always stuck in synchronization, all that kind of stuff, because my brain has grown a bit, and it's always stuck in sync issues. So
what are you going to move to?
I don't know.
It's funny
yet,
you mentioned that, because I just saw a guy last night that used Claude Code in a week, built his own Obsidian version.
I also seen that I started using Obsidian because it's quite a powerful tool, but nowadays it's continuously stuck. So probably I need to visualize and Obsidian presents you data only in the way that it's structured within the Obsidian. Plus it gets this graph, but you can basically build something by your own to visualize the data the way you want it.
Yeah, I saw this guy build it last night. I spent a couple hours just walking through his stuff, and it's like, and he said it only took him a week. I believe it. Yeah, it doesn't take much, but man, it can be overwhelming, right?
Yeah, it is. And sitting like I'm having this podcast, so it's like about 60 interviews, and I'm chatting with founders and executives. All of them are working within some business segment and having some different problems. All of that together, it accumulates. And I'm trying to use agent to extract all the information, hypotheses, pain points, signals, whatever out of that. And you get a lot of ideas, you get a lot of hypotheses, and I have no idea how to prioritize all of that and how to find time to to deal with that.
Yeah. What do you mainly work in co-work or Cloud Code?
Cloud Code.
Yeah.
Co-work was limiting, and so I switched to Cloud
It
Code.
is very limiting. I always, it's interesting how you grow through that. There's some things I throw into co-work because in cron jobs and stuff like that, I don't mind co-work doing some of that stuff. But Cloud Code at the end of the day do you use a separate IDE?
No,
I use Warp. I use Warp quite a bit. I like the Warp structure.
No, I use Cloud desktop Cloud. Cloud Code in desktop version is quite great for me. And you can access it nowadays from your phone. So all the sessions you have in your desktop Cloud can be accessed from your phone. So it's also great. So I can throw in few sessions and ask him to work on something, and then go somewhere and have access to everything from my phone.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's just crazy. I love this stuff.
Yeah, and with regard to the cron jobs, I have it's like every 2 minutes heartbeat. That it just I have some simple scripts that runs the cron, and it knows where to check if there is any task to do, and if there is, it fires up a cron session and then a cloud session, and then cloud does its work.
Yeah.
So otherwise, firing up like a cloud session every 2 minutes is costly. but simple script, it's okay. So when it sees that there is anything to do for Claude, then it starts Claude and Claude does the job. So yeah.
Yeah. Very
So
cool.
I absolutely hear you what you built with Second Brain, because when the moment you start building it, it really empowers you. It really opens up a lot of ideas and relations, interconnections between the data, and it's called second brain within community, not for fun, because it is a second brain. I just dump there everything I have in my brain, and it just somehow collects it and matches it, and I can access this information anytime. It's like a network of information.
I was having a debate. A bunch of my fellow CEOs, we were on a Slack channel at the bureau, this organization. But one of the debates was like, is it making us stupider? And my thing is like, one of the CEOs wrote, I don't ride a bike very much anymore, but I can get back on a bike. It's not making me stupider. It's enhancing areas that I need to be enhanced in. And I think that's the second brain is not a crutch. It's an enablement tool. And so I think there's really two camps. People are like, oh, it's, AI is just going to make us dumb. I'm like, if you want to make you dumb, maybe, but it's not. It's actually something that's going to make you far smarter, far better at solving problems. My biggest, go ahead.
I've never been more productive and more enabled in my life, probably, as I'm now.
Yep. Agreed.
It just enables you, and it depends on you. If you wanted to just solve some simple problems for you, and you'd sit the meanwhile do nothing, then it doesn't make you smarter, but it enables you to move faster and explore deeper and to explore further. You don't need to. You keep a high level of context, and you can in the past, people executives were used to, especially founders, were used to take some break to just from a high level of context or think something over. Nowadays you don't need to, probably, because you are not drilling down into every single detail. It empowers you not to do that.
Indeed. Very, very fun, man. I love talking about this stuff. I love learning from other people that are doing it, because I think one of the good characteristics to have in this next, it's even more, it's always a good character, is have the humility to go, I don't know everything. I meet some people in the past are like, this is how I'm doing it. This is the only way I'm doing it. And I'm like, man, have a little humility, learn from other people, and you're going to be far more efficient. So I think AI and this whole world is just opening up so many doors. And as long as you're willing to learn from others, you're going to do great. It's just, I remember when I first started thinking about even a little bit of AI like 6 months ago. And between now and then, it's like, I don't even know that person from 6 months ago. I don't even know why I was doing the things I'm doing. It's like every day, it's like something more multiplying. So, yeah. Well, I'd be interested in what you're going to do for your second brain if you're going to go out of Obsidian, because I can see the limits too. It's starting for sure.
It is limiting. It is limiting in the way it presents data. It is limiting in the way it's not efficient. So you want it now, and it's not there now. You need to wait for Obsidian to synchronize. And it's like, come on, I know I have this information. For me nowadays, from my mobile, it's easier to open Claude and ask Claude, even though it takes 30 seconds. It gives me the answer. Even though I know where the document is in the Obsidian. where I should look at. It's faster to open Claude nowadays. So yeah. And I
That's funny you
also
say
built,
that.
there was the voice interface to the Claude. So I'm using some Telegram, whatever. So where I can just send a voice message and I get response back from Claude. So it's also, yeah.
That's very, very cool. So you just use Telegram as an agent, as a voice.
For some one-off tasks, you don't need to open Claude and wait for it to check out like in the cloud, to check out your whole vault and run it. So it takes time. So I got Claude running on my computer, which is immediate, and Telegram is interface to it for some one-off tasks. Like tell me something, and it just goes and tells me something, and has like 20 messages of history, so it can reiterate previous conversation. So it's just.
How do you manage memory right now? When you're working,
which memory?
Like just memory within Claude. Are you constantly updating your memory in Obsidian with what you're talking about, or like the difference between episodic memory and like short-term memory?
I have a couple layers of memory. First is I've repeated, completely redone Claude's auto memory. Because Claude's auto memory is stored somewhere within Claude. I want to store it in my knowledge base, so I just repeated it for my purpose and simplified it, because Claude memory is used for programming, while I'm doing like my knowledge management. So this is the first one. Second one is I have on schedule. How it's called journaling. So it looks into through all of my sessions, which sessions are new. It updates some database, local database, and it summarizes the sessions into journal. That if within the sessions we discuss this and that, this decision were taken, this artifact was created. And artifact can be some markdown within the vault, or can be some separate just document. So this is the second one. What else? Tools, skills, whatever. And besides, I store information within domains. So I work within domains. Like one of domains is cigars. So every cigar I smoke, I can just tell it my feedback, and it collects the feedback. And I'm trying like to using some regression algorithms. I'm trying to understand, like, if I throw it in another cigar, if it's good fit for me, or if it's not, based on all the parameters of cigars that it collected from internet. So,
and you just use Telegram and you go, hey, I just smoked this Perdomo. It was okay. I didn't like it that much.
If I'm at my PC, if it's at my Mac, I just open new session with Claude and tell it. If I am just on the move, I just send one voice message via Telegram. So it's one of.
That's awesome.
For me, it's simple, easier than opening Claude app, going into Claude tab, Claude Code tab, starting a session. It's faster.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah,
love it.
Yeah. So nice to find somebody who has the same ideas and enjoys and likes building his second brain, because not too many people do it nowadays. But people will start doing it.
People will for sure. People will. I think it's going to be. I was just thinking about it with my son. I was like, man, it'd be so awesome if he would just automatically just have a second brain going into school, right? It would help him dramatically. People with ADHD, I know I struggle with it. I forget things all the time. But that's going to be the big shift coming down the road. Is having tools like that.
That's for sure with ADHD, because people cannot focus for too long. And this kind of like agent being nearby can really, I call it like assistant for myself, because I try to make it an assistant. So it reminds me. So like one of like things I implemented is like reminding me on schedule. So I just tell it like, remind me tomorrow that I need to do this, and it just sends me a Telegram message. And so, so I get a push from the agent. So it was inspired by the OpenClaw, but I didn't want to go into OpenClaw, and it's absolutely doable.
I don't think you need to. I don't think you need to OpenClaw, to be quite honest. I think it's overkill.
Yeah.
That's been my impression so far. I could be wrong, but I think it could be real overkill. The interesting thing about I use the daily notes just as a structure for me sometimes, and I almost think I'm outgrowing that to some degree. But I have it. It does all those transcripts and sets up and puts in my to-dos list, and so I have this backlog of to-do list, and it constantly goes back through that to-do list. It's probably like 300 to-dos, right, based on things I said in transcripts and stuff. And it'll be like, oh, hey, you can go ahead and uh, delegate this out to this person, this person, this person. And my next iteration of my open brain is I really want to see how this works organizationally amongst multiple people, giving them all their second brains, and then having an agent facilitate solving problems across everyone's to-do list and stuff like that. That's where I really want to go.
I was thinking it over, but I have no. But people need to start having second brains first, and then you can think about sharing certain parts of the brain between people.
Well, I use tagging, right? I do private, company. Like I do domains differently. Like domains are based on access for me because I'm using the projects, the areas, the research, and the archives. I'm using the Para framework just because I needed a framework to work on. But I think if we can get if I can figure out how to like distribute a second brain to every employee and then having the linkage, I think you'll be a powerful company. Super powerful company. Get rid of project management. You don't need project management anymore. You have someone that's orchestrating tasks already. And all you really do is have account management meetings going, this is what we've done, this is where we're going. And it's a 15-minute call. And if you can get clients using a second brain, you don't even have to have those calls. I mean, it's just, the calls are mainly for a relationship, not for solving problems. I can't tell you how many meetings, I think that's the big change. Meetings are going to go away and you're going to just have like the project management meeting. What a waste of time in some ways. Getting everybody to get on the same schedule. Oh man, that drives me crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway,
I haven't experienced that yet myself, but like I'm hearing from my partner that he used to like short meetings, to synchronize face to face with some person. But nowadays, with some of our clients nowadays, since he's using his own like second brain, Claude with second brain, and the client is using something similar, they're exchanging emails because it's much easier. So he's getting email from the client, like Claude reads it, analyzes based on his knowledge, and asks him what to do, how to react. He tells it like do this and that, these are decisions, and it composes email, sends it back to the client. On the other side, the client
back to his agent.
Claude does exactly the same, It's just back and forth exchange of emails between people.
I think AI reduces the amount of friction in solving problems and communication, because I think that's the biggest suck on time is all these meetings. Oh, it's such a waste. I mean, have meetings that are important, sure, like when you come to a crossroads or something, but just to get a weekly update on a project, I don't need to be in that meeting. No one needs to be in that meeting. We should all be able to just see what the status is and move on. So yeah, I'm looking forward to when second brains or whatever it's going to be called it's going to change next month, I'm sure. Whatever it morphs into is going to be a standard.
I think something's going to emerge from that, and it will not be as comprehensive as you try to build it for yourself, but there will be something that people will start using finally. Some Apple or Google or something will finally come up with a solution, and you will have it in your phone.
Oleksij, back in 2000, I came up with I had this idea. I was going to build this company called My Id. The id is from psychology. It's like your other person that's in you, your ego. And I wanted to create something that would just do everything we're doing in second brain, basically. And I think what's going to come out is everybody, whether call it an app or call it whatever, it's going to be a standard, and it might be just built into the new iPhone because it's going to have its own AI chip in it. It's just going to be something that just sits on your shoulder basically and listens and learns from you and starts categorizing and that's going to be a standard implementation in technology. And I'm sure Elon has that for his chip that he's going to put in someone's brain. It's going to be like, oh yeah, I've got your second brain. It's implanted right there on your brain and learning from your brain and what you're seeing, what you're hearing, what you're talking about. It's going to start just categorizing everything for you. So I think that's where it's going to go.
Me too. Especially since I now feel the power of it, by building it for myself. And you just evolve it. You just, okay, I need something different. Okay, I added this layer, added that layer. So the information is structured in multiple different dimensions. And it's easily accessible. So right now I know that it has grown to the extent that it's not easily. Claude sometimes loses the track, so I need to bring some semantic search, maybe not semantic search, some comprehensive search layers that it can easily extract information. So that it will automatically feed it with like, okay, there is that reference, even though it's not interlinked, but it can easily find it. So I'm thinking over building something like that because it has grown to like 2, maybe more thousands of documents already. So it's quite big.
I mean, how many documents do you have in it right now?
2,000 plus, I think.
2,000 plus. I have a friend that imported 3,000 transcripts from calls over the last 5 years.
I'm not. And, I started building it 3 months ago, and it's all fresh, but it's already 2,000 plus.
I'm curious what that. He said, I haven't talked to him yet, but he's in Australia, and he's got these 3,000 transcripts, and he's like, I'm looking for. I don't know what he said. I think it's something to the extent as I'm mining for gold because there's 3,000 transcripts. There's tons of interesting information in there from all these calls with clients and stuff like that. That's going to be super amazing. Here's the stuff that the NSA used to have. Now we have.
It's easier to make systems that finds needed information when you need it. Even within conversation, when you have some conversations with the Claude, it has some semantics, and based on that semantics, you can easily extract relevant information. It's not Rak, it's something more advanced, but still. But the real mining for gold would be when the agent can, based on all this information, based on knowledge about you, can find something interlinked between all of these discussions that is really, really, really powerful, which you have missed. So, like when you know what you want to extract, it's easy. The hard part is how to extract something from all your information that you have that is really beneficial and good for you, but which you haven't idea about yet. And this is the next big step.
Yeah, but I think your second brain can kind of validate your intuition too, or invalidate it. Yeah. Oh man, now I want to go back to my Claude Code right now. Have some ideas.
Don't want to waste your time. That was a great discussion.
You're not wasting my time. These kind of conversations are really helpful for reorientation, restructuring how I'm thinking about things. It's the same thing that you do when you sit on your deck and stare out into space and try to think about some stuff. I think the conversations nowadays are so enriched with ideas like this, and who you talk to is really important. How you spend your time, because I'm in my 50s. I don't know how many more years I have left, but your time has compressed for me, and so AI definitely is almost expanding that compression, so I can do more. Because if we didn't have AI here, I could see a time horizon that's coming sooner. Now with AI, I can do a lot more, and I can maybe add another 10, 20 years of productivity into a shorter period of time. I don't know. It's something to think about.
And you're way more effective like from my perspective, this year, like in this year, of these 5 months of the year, I've done more probably than in previous 2 or 3 years. So it's the level of productivity is quite different. And
You know what's also helped me be productive is it's impacted my habits quite a bit, because it's reduced, like, health almost is more important to me now than it ever has been, because I find that if I don't drink, right, and if I exercise, I'm actually more productive when I'm working with my quad. And I was talking to another CEO about that. He's like, 100%. Like, I don't know how many CEOs I've talked to have given up drinking lately altogether. Just, they'll have wine once in a while, things like that. But a lot of them are like, no, it's so important that I show up in front of my computer and work and be clear headed so I can do a lot more things. So it's interesting how it's impacted. When you have tools that are exciting, it can impact your other behavior quite a bit. Wine is not alcohol, by the way. I know that's what you think, Oleksij.
No, it's not.
Do you have a favorite varietal? Do you have a favorite varietal that you drink?
I drink a lot of wine. I finished wine school, so to know what I drink.
You went to wine school?
Yeah.
Are you a sommelier?
No, I did it for myself.
Really?
I want to know what I drink, so I drink a lot of wine. I live wine.
So how good are you? Let's see, if I gave you a wine, are you able to identify the varietal?
Maybe, yeah, potentially.
A region?
Not really. I'm not that good, so but maybe I don't know. I never. I drink it for myself, for my pleasure, and I want to understand what I'm drinking.
Yeah.
I always want to know what I'm drinking, so I do like alcohol, and as I finished fine school and on purpose to understand what I'm drinking. So like
that's amazing.
7 or 8 years ago. Since then, I'm just continuously experimenting with wine. But I'm not sommelier, so that's not my target to like know variety.
So of your 2,000 documents in your second brain, 1,900 are wines.
No, not really. I got cigars in my second brain. I do not have wines there. So I started recording all the wines in Vivino many years ago, and it's still there. And you cannot extract this information from Vivino. They are locking it in.
I have Vivino too. I use that quite often. Are you religious about taking a picture of it and then storing it, what you have in your cabinet? Okay, so you really are in the process. See, that's where Vivino has a moat for you. You can't get it out.
Yeah, you can't get out of Vivino.
So I do have an idea, though. Let's see, and we can end with this. I can emulate my phone on my computer. I got that working. But what I wanted to do is I want to create an AI that looks at my phone and moves my mouse cursor on the phone to automate interaction with it. That's what my next thing I want to do. So I want the AI to be able to go into one of my apps and click through everything and extract all the data.
Okay, that's a good one, actually.
So that I'm playing with that right now, and I love a lot of strategy games and stuff with my son and stuff. So there's some games that I've downloaded. I'm like, I wanted to learn how this gameplay is working, why is good, what the structure is, and to be able to develop more games, because he's really into that stuff. So that's my next side project is app having my phone be emulated and have an AI play on it.
Yep. Awesome.
Screw that moat.
Great. Right. Well, let's wrap it up here. It was really a great discussion.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
We should check in every so often. I'd love to hear your progress.
Me too. I'd actually love to check in at some point, even quite soon, and just have another call and walk through each other's worlds. Look.
Yeah.
who's been
let's do
like
it.
share a source, because I'm continuously searching for something new that I can build for my second brain and where I can evolve it, that it like benefits me and helps me, and I'd love to share. So
yeah, I'd love to learn from you.
Yeah.
You obviously are deep in it, and the problem is the biggest thing that gets in between me and working on AI stuff is running a company right now. It's it's like
you need to do work sometimes.
yeah, I have to work at some point.
Yeah.
So it all works. Anyway, it's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you so much, Leslie. And I hope next time I'm in Europe, maybe I should pop by Lviv and
Sure.
grab a cigar and a bottle of wine with you.
Yep. Awesome. That's for sure.